It may surprise you, but the secret to long-term success in creative writing and investing are actually the same. It's a psychological secret that I will share with you in a minute. You see, I've been writing fiction for 7 years, and recently I started reading financial giants like Ray Dalio with a view to making my first move into the stock market. I'm treating both projects as long-term commitments, and I couldn't help noticing that they have the same underlying emotional pattern. Of course, I'm not a financial advisor, this is not investment advice, but I do want to share what I've learned. Imagine an investor who bought a stock when there was a lot of hype. He expects quick returns and invests a large share of his savings. The stock then goes down. He didn't have the patience to keep a rainy day fund, so he has to sell his investments when they are low to cover his expenses. Then, in a little while, the stock rebounds to higher than it was when he bought it. Switching now to a writer who gets struck by a new idea. He's full of enthusiasm, he writes the first 1 or 2 pages, he has a read and he just doesn't like the look of it. So he puts it away in a drawer and waits for a day of inspiration that never comes. Again, he sells his investment short. There is an emotional pattern to creative writing that is the same as long-term investing. The principle is to keep your nerve during the downs. The phrase making an investment conveys this sentiment really nicely. It has a feeling of commitment and sacrifice, as well as trust in the future. You cannot afford to sell your goals short. You will get there as long as you accept that the graph will go up and down. Internalize that pattern. Accept it and expect it. Let me explore this comparison in more detail now. If you Google the S&P 500 stock market, a graph will appear with different views. A 1-day view, a 5-day view, a 1-year view, and the max view, which I think is about 40 years. If you take the 1-day view, even over the course of a single day, there will be many ups and downs. As you zoom out, these are smoothed out into mere blips along the line, and the 40-year view is a massive upward trajectory. Now, of course, we live in the present. Today is all we experience, and so we give it massive weighting in our considerations. But we really need to remember that this is just part of that underlying pattern. I'd like to take a recent example from my own writing. 2 weeks ago, I was feeling lots of flow, so I did a few extra hours a day. Last week, my mood had shifted, but instead of taking it slowly and building up the momentum bit by bit, I still had this oversized expectation from the previous week. So the negative self-talk started to creep in. That created an extra burden. I began to procrastinate and do other things. The net result was that I actually spent less time writing than if I had just done a consistent amount of time over the 2 weeks. So my stock market jumped up 1 week and crashed the next. This brings me to my conclusion, which comes in 2 parts. The first is a key investment principle. Do not lose. If your stock loses half its value, it then needs to double in price just to get back to where you started. The second principle, which I'm internalizing myself, is to expect this pattern, that your mood and momentum will fluctuate. Don't take the downs so seriously. They don't mean that you're a bad writer or a bad investor. They're just a natural part of human life. A good writer learns to accept them and develops techniques for slowly rebuilding that momentum. Sometimes just staying in the game is the biggest achievement. In fact, the victory is won when it feels like you're losing, but you keep going anyway. In these ruts, you may feel like you're kidding yourself, like you are lowering your ambitions for the day because you're incapable of achieving anything greater. But that's actually an illusion. I want to close with this. Legendary music arranger Quincy Jones spent some time early in his career with bandleader Count Basie. He recounts a piece of advice that Count Basie once gave him. He said, "Take care of the valleys, Quincy. The hills will take care of themselves." I hope you enjoyed this video and it helps you set those crucial expectations right. Making it has helped me internalize this pattern as well. I'm investing in this channel for the long term. So if you want to keep this stock on its upward trajectory, you can subscribe. And I'm interested to hear in the comment section what you think the emotional patterns of creative writing are. See you next time.